Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into a new edition of the Batter Up podcast, sponsored by the Dugout of Millwood here on the Sports Insanity Network. I am Mike Rifkin. Hope everyone is doing well this holiday season. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa. We go on and on and on. So we got a lot to unpack. We're going to talk about a tragic passing in a second of a baseball icon. We are also going to dive into free agency, some moves that have been made, some moves that have been discussed, and the welcoming back of a legend to a certain franchise. So let's get this show on the road. So, Rickey Henderson, the greatest leadoff hitter of all time, passed away Saturday at the age of 65. Reportedly, he battled pneumonia recently, and that is the what we presume is the cause of death. Henderson's a Hall of Famer, former MVP, 10-time All-Star, 2-time World Series champ, Gold Glove winner, 3-time Silver Slugger, ALCS MVP, over 3,000 hits, 297 homers, over 1,000 RBIs, over 1,000 stolen bases, the most stolen bases in the history of baseball, with a slugging percentage of 279, 401, and 419. If it's a 61, I apologize. I can't read my own handwriting. Actually, let me double check that. Want to be on the safe side here. But tremendous loss for the game. The greatest, like I said, the greatest leadoff hitter of all time, and quite the character as well. You know, Rickey said things that only he can. Over 1,400 stolen bases, most all time, most runs scored, 401 on base. I was right, 401 on base, 419 slugging. To go along with the 279 average. He played for the A's, the Yankees, the Blue Jays, the Padres, the Angels, the Mets, the Red Sox, and the Dodgers. There will never be another Rickey Henderson. And, you know, when you saw the support from former teammates and friends, it showed what kind of guy he was. So our condolences to the friends and family of Rickey Henderson. He was 65 years old, the greatest leadoff hitter of all time. And it's just sad. It's a sad day for Major League Baseball. All right, but we move on a little bit. Let's talk some free agency. There were a couple of trades made today. One, actually, both involving the National League East. The Washington Nationals got first baseman Nathaniel Lowe from the Texas Rangers in exchange for a left-handed pitcher. And Jesus Luzardo goes from the Marlins to the Phillies for a couple of prospects. Look, I think for Philly, this is a great deal. If I'm being brutally honest, I think Luzardo does not have to be the guy in Philly. He slots in probably as your number 4 as we go into the season behind Wheeler, Nola, and probably Christopher Sanchez. But Luzardo's got really good stuff. We'd heard rumors about him being on the move. The one thing about him, though, is there's a bit of an injury concern. But listen, you're taking a risk with a lot of these guys. But with Wheeler and Nola at the top, the Phillies are really good. For them to take Luzardo and make him a number 4, this kind of makes you think about what Taijuan Walker's future looks like in a Phillies uniform. But I like the move from a Philly perspective. from the Marlins perspective, look, the Marlins are a team that they're going to sell pieces. They're going to continually sell pieces for prospects. And once they get competitive, if they choose to go get competitive, we'll see what happens. But I like this deal a lot for Philly. I think especially after we found out that Roki Sasaki wasn't going to join them, uh, they wanted to add another piece to that rotation. Luzardo fits the bill, and he's young enough, got good stuff. So we'll see how he fits in to the clubhouse and the rotation there in Philly. Onto the low deal for Washington, gives them a first baseman, which, by the way, the first base market, it's very quickly dwindled itself down. Washington wanted to get in. They got a guy they like who they could put presumably in the middle of their lineup. Some left-handed pop. So, hey, listen, it's a good deal for Washington. Young player, going to get an opportunity there. Won a World Series a couple of years ago with Texas. So that's a good deal for Washington. Mike Rizzo, there's a part of me that thinks Mike Rizzo is going to do something bigger. What that move is, I don't know. But I just believe he's going to do something big this offseason, bigger than that. So let's dive in on some other stuff when it comes to free agency. The Yankees have been aggressive. They signed the Max Fried contract. We'll get into that in a second. And then this week alone, Cody Bellinger comes in via trade with the Cubs, and they bring in Paul Goldschmidt to play first base. And let's be real honest here. The Bellinger deals with Steele. They're not giving up a ton because they're going to eat a lot of the money. So they're not giving up a ton there. Goldschmidt, it's 1 year. They're good with that, which is fine. He had a down year last year. Terrible first half. Second half, he was better. You know what you're going to get. He's going to post most days. And you're going to get a competitor. That's Goldschmidt. And he's a guy who's going to put the ball into play. And I kind of like him at Yankee Stadium from a right-handed hitter perspective. He's a guy who likes to go to right center naturally. So that's where I think he's going to be really good in that ballpark. Maybe not a 30-homer guy anymore, but no reason he shouldn't hit 20 to 25. Of course, barring injury. Bellinger, I think Bellinger for them is going to hit 30. I wouldn't be shocked. I think the interesting thing here, because I thought the question coming in when they got Bellinger is, where's he playing? Is he going to play center field? Is he going to play right field? Is he going to play first base? And the more I thought about it, the more I was like, all right, first base makes a ton of sense for that team. And then they signed Goldschmidt. Now, you're like, Goldschmidt's playing first. Excuse me. Goldschmidt's going to play first. Bellinger, I would put Bellinger in center and kick Judge back to right. That way, anything hit to right center is not going to be dropping with the way those two guys can go out and field. They cover a lot of ground. They're big, strong, tall guys. Strapping gents, as we like to say. Now, the interesting thing is how this line is going to be constructed. Does Bellinger hit 2? Does Bellinger hit in front of or behind Judge? Then there's Stanton. How does Jazz Chisholm fit? They got a lot of moving parts to that lineup now. It's much longer than it was last year. I will give them that. And I actually give Brian Cashman a ton of credit. I think Brian Cashman has done a really good job this winter. I think a lot of people might be upset about the whole Soto thing. I kind of like this team better than I liked the team last year. The one caveat is Fried. And it's not because I don't like Max Fried. I think Max Fried's an excellent pitcher. My thing on Max Fried is this. I'm not okay giving a 31-year-old 8 years. The money, fine, 218 or whatever it is. I'm just not cool with the 8 years. That's the one area that bothers me. Now, they probably wouldn't have to go that far if Carlos Rodon had been consistent. But look, it's the price you pay in free agency. And it doesn't matter. If Fried pitches well, no one's going to regret the 8 years. So I think the Yankees have done a really good job post-so. I want to give Brian Cashman that credit. They still need a third baseman. And, and I'm hoping they give Jason Dominguez a shot here. If they can do that, give Dominguez a shot here and bring in a third baseman. I don't think they're going to go out and pay Bregman. But we'll wait and see on that. Bregman's still out there. We'll have to wait and see where that goes. But maybe it's a Nolan Arenado trade. Maybe it's something else. Maybe they fool us all and they bring in a second baseman and keep Chisholm over a third. That may be something. I don't know. Interesting to see what the brain trust there with Cashman wants to think about. So that's the Yankees and what they've done post Soto. Now, I want to talk about another team in the AL East really quick. Actually, two teams in the AL East that I would like to bring up. Talk about that in a little bit. The first team I want to talk about Toronto Blue Jays. And the Toronto Blue Jays, this is from John Heyman. This is after the Yankees acquired Bellinger. The Blue Jays were also interested in Bellinger. That helped Cubs do the deal they wanted, sending just $5 million to the Yankees to offset the $52.5 they owe Bellinger over the next 2 years. Okay, here's why I want to talk about the Toronto Blue Jays. Here's why. If I'm a Toronto Blue Jays fan, I am sick and I am tired of hearing all of these insiders. So the Blue Jays finished second, whether it be Ohtani, trading for Soto last year, signing Ohtani, trading for Bellinger, signing Bellinger, whatever it is, the Blue Jays keep finishing second. If I'm a Blue Jays fan, my question is, well, how do we jump into first and actually acquire someone? And I don't want ownership and the GM to say, see, guys, we're interested in all these parts and we just can't land them. Because you're negatively reinforcing the fact that you didn't acquire said player. And meanwhile, you have two players on your own team who are stars who need to get paid. And that's Bo Bichette and Vlad Jr. And if you can't land these other pieces, they're going to leave. And then you are really looking bottom of the barrel because if those two guys want out, you might as well sell off a lot of these other pieces. They have to figure something out here to land themselves a star. I don't care who it is, and I don't care how you do it. If the Toronto Blue Jays can't land themselves someone, you might as well just start it over. Throw in the dynamite because this team should be competing in the American League. It shouldn't be finishing in last place in the AL East. It shouldn't be collapsing in wild card rounds. They should be in a good position. That's on them. Figure it out, Toronto. The other team is Baltimore. And I'm waiting on the Orioles to do something. I know they just signed a Japanese pitcher. Hopefully that helps, but they still need help in the rotation. Maybe that's a Corbin Burns reunion. Who knows? But they need to add something. Boston, after Garrett Crochet, they've kind of gone a little radio silent here. Kind of need them to go out and do something. It's kind of funny. The Yankees have been really aggressive. Goldschmidt and Bellinger and Fried identified some of these guys. These other teams in the AL East are kind of like, all right, you do what you got to do. We're going to wait back burn. Excuse me. Boston goes, we're going to trade for Garrett Crochet. The Orioles said, all right, we're not going to go top of the line picking. We're going to pick up Tyler O'Neill. Still waiting for Toronto to do something to me, and well, we know how the Rays operate. So the AL East is really interesting. I got to tell you, though, back to the free deal. 8 years, I'd rather have done the Blake Snell deal, which was, I think, 5 and 150. That's just me, but I would have rather done that than Fried. And again, not because Fried's a bad pitcher. I just don't love 8 years. But again, Ken Rosenthal said, I think earlier this week, Corbin Burns might be looking higher AAV in a shorter term deal. That could be right up someone's alley. See what happens there. Roki Sasaki is taking interviews. He's met with the Mets, the Yankees, I believe the Padres, the Dodgers, and the White Sox. Imagine that, Roki Sasaki to the White Sox. See what happens there. But, so there's that. And then I want to dive back into the first base market because earlier this week, the Astros signed Christian Walker, 3-year, $60 million deal. And this goes back to the Isaac Paredes deal, that trade they made with the Cubs, which was the Kyle Tucker trade, when they trade Tucker for Paredes plus. Now you're basically saying Alex Bregman's not coming back, and kind of an end of an era play there for the Astros. So no more Bregman, no more Tucker. But I like Christian Walker. I think Christian Walker was the best first baseman on the market. And I think that's huge for the Astros. I think that is a big bat in the middle of the lineup. Very good defensive player. Him with the Crawford boxes is really going to be something. And then you plug him in right behind Yordan Alvarez or right in front of Yordan Alvarez. You got something there. So the Astros also, apparently they're listening to Framber Valda. So wait and see what else the Astros got up their sleeve before we, just decimate them. So we'll see what happens there. But the first base market now. So the first base market now has become very, very limited. The best one out there is still Pete Alonso. And a lot of these teams have already plugged in holes. So I got to think a Met reunion is what's coming with Alonso. And I'm hoping that from this perspective, I'm hoping for this. If I'm the Mets, I want the guy player back. If Alonso, I'd love to go back, see what happens. Pete Alonso with Juan Soto is going to be something great. So we'll see what happens there. But first base market is very much shrinking at the moment. So we'll see what happens next. All right. And again, the top of this market, Corbin Burns is still out there. Obviously, Sasaki. I don't think Sasaki can technically sign till January 15th. Or is that the last? There's something about January 15th when it comes to Roki Sasaki that that's when he could sign. So we'll go into that. But the pitching market is, the top of the pitching market still around with Burns. The reliever market, too, really hasn't moved much. Nothing on a Tanner Scott, Ryan Stanek. So kind of interesting on how the reliever market hasn't really moved. Uh, Still waiting on some things with some other markets, too. But uh, right now, teams are moving it. And back to the Astros for a second. Remember, Nolan Arenado declined going there and trade with the Cardinals. According to reports, he would love to go, I think, to the Dodgers, is what a lot of people are saying, which not everyone needs to be a Dodger, but, see what happens there with Arenado. Apparently, he liked comments about the Yankees on Instagram. But his numbers the past couple of years have gone down a little bit. Injuries have crept up. And as great of a player as Nolan Arenado is, I just don't think there's going to be a ton of teams who want that deal, want that contract, despite the fact that another team is paying it or paying the bulk of it. So there's that as well. So Arenado, Bregman at third. Really wasn't a shortstop market, but wait and see. Pitchers haven't. Pitchers have moved, just not the top of the market yet with Burns. But again, wait and see where we are at. We're at Christmas now, and we'll go from there. But I do want to talk about this as well. Sammy Sosa. Sammy Sosa issued an apology. This is a statement from Sammy. This is from the Marquee Sports Network. A statement from Sammy Sosa, quote, I left it all on the field for the Cubs and Cubs fans because I wanted to win and make the fans happy. I love to see the fans at Wrigley in the right field bleachers every home game. I understand why some players in my era don't always get the recognition that our stats deserve. There were times I did whatever I could to recover from my injuries in an effort to keep my strength up to perform over 162 games. I never broke any laws, but in hindsight, I made mistakes and I apologize. We accomplished great things as a team, and I worked extremely hard in the batting cage to become a great hitter. Cubs fans are the best fit in the world, and I hope that fans, the Cubs, and I can all come together and move forward. We can't change the past, but the future is bright in my heart. I've always been a Cub, and I can't wait to see Cub fans again. Okay. This from Tom Ricketts, the Cubs executive chairman, quote, we appreciate Sammy releasing his statement and for reaching out. No one played harder or wanted to win more. Nobody's perfect, but we never doubted his passion for the game and the Cubs. It is an understatement to say that Sammy is a fan favorite. We plan on inviting him to the 2025 Cubs convention, and while it is short notice, we hope that he can attend. We are all ready to move forward together, close quote. Couple of things here. I'm not a Chicago Cubs fan. I was 5 years old, 4 years old going on five. But I saw the 30 for 30 about Sammy McGuire 98. I don't accept Sammy Sosa's apology for this reason. The steroids were legal then. My biggest issue with Sammy Sosa is not that he took steroids. That is not my issue with Sammy Sosa. My issue with Sammy Sosa was when they testified on Capitol Hill. Sammy Sosa played the I don't speak English card. That's my beef with Sammy Sosa. Do I think Sammy Sosa is a Hall of Famer? 100%. Do I think Mark McGwire is a Hall of Famer? 100%. Do I think Barry Bonds is a Hall of Famer? 100%. We can go on and on and on and on and on and on and on about steroid users or the people we presume took steroids. Should they all be in the Hall of Fame? Sure. The Hall of Fame is part of baseball history. It is not some. Now, can I guarantee that all the other members are going to be happy about that? No. Can you put an asterisk saying these guys played in this era? Sure. Excuse me. But here's the thing that bothers me the most. The audacity of Major League Baseball. Because who was at the forefront of the steroid era? Not McGwire, not Bonds, not Sammy Sosa, not Roger Clemens, Bud Selig. Bud Selig was at the forefront. He oversaw it all. And he's in the Baseball Hall of Fame. And we want to ignore that. And by the way, every year we kind of see the rise. And there's one steroid user I'll never forgive. And it's not the fact that he took the steroids. Sammy Sosa, truth be told, Sammy, I don't care about the steroids. If it was that bad for Major League Baseball, well, then they should have done the testings back then. There is one person I will never have sympathy for when it comes to PEDs. And it's not Sammy Sosa. It's not Roger Clemens. It's not Barry Bonds. And it's not Mark McGwire. It's A-Rod. Because he lied. That's the only guy who took PEDs who I can look at and say, you know what? That's the one guy who lied. I don't want to hear anything else. He lied to Katie Couric. He lied to all of us. And he expects us to forgive him, and that's why he's an analyst now. And by the way, to the Cubs, Sammy Sosa should have been at Cubs Fests or whatever it is. He should have already been welcomed back with open arms. You shouldn't care about the steroids because Sammy Sosa was a fan favorite. Don't give us the BS. Everyone makes mistakes and deserves a second chance. Absolutely, they deserve a second chance. But you should be honoring your past regardless because you're the Chicago Cubs, and prior to 2016, you hadn't won jack in 108 years. So, Sammy, I accept your apology, but you didn't have to apologize for the steroids. You should be apologizing for what happened on Capitol Hill. That's what you should be apologizing for. How you handled yourself there. Not how you handled yourself as a ball player, because you are a hell of a ball player, Sammy Sosa. And I want other guys to acknowledge this. I want other guys to put their name out there. I apologize for what happened during my career. Will it change the fact of them going into the Hall of Fame? Probably not. But you can acknowledge what happened. By the way, I also think the baseball writers need to check their tone at the door when it comes to vote for the Hall of Fame. Ooh, we want perfectionists in the Hall of Fame. Ooh, we want gentlemen in the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame is a museum of great baseball moments, acknowledging the great baseball players of their generation. That includes Bonds, Clemens, Sosa, McGwire, and yeah, it even acknowledges A-Rod. So despite the fact that I wouldn't want him near the Hall of Fame because I don't think he deserves to be near the Hall of Fame because of lying, it's a whole nother conversation. If we're going to have Bud Selig in, if we're going to acknowledge certain people of the era, we have to acknowledge the whole era. That's that. So the Cubs should be out here, and the Cubs should be saying, you know what, Sammy, you don't have to apologize. The fans love you. And we are glad that you want to be here. So there's that. I want to jump back into free agency because I talked about a team right just now who I want to see more from, and there's a couple of others: Toronto, Baltimore. I would like for the Detroit Tigers to get involved here. Alex Cobb just doesn't do it for me. I'm sorry. The Giants. I think the Giants need to do something major here. And then there was this conversation, and I don't know how far this goes, but there's been some trade chatter around the San Diego Padres. And potentially they're willing to move Dylan Cease. I don't know if that's to replenish their system, if I'm being honest with you, or if that is maybe they have a deal in place with Sasaki and they want him to take Cease's spot in the rotation. I don't know. But I will say this: if Dylan Cease is a guy who's getting moved again, I would be moving prospects for Dylan Cease. But again, just me. But other teams I'm looking for to make some moves here: Detroit. I would say Cleveland, but Cleveland just made a big move. They just traded away Josh Naylor to the Diamondbacks. I don't think they're going to be in on another bat, to be honest with you. Maybe they are. I know they have the kid they got from the Rays, Manzardo. He's going to be your first baseman. So we got that going with them. But Detroit, is Minnesota going to do anything? I don't know. Just being honest. Kansas City, that I can't see it. The Mariners. The Mariners have needed a bat forever. And there's been talk about them trading from the rotation. And so if they could trade a piece off from the rotation into the lineup, that'd be huge benefit for them. They need to find ways to score some runs. The one team that's really, I'm really waiting for them to do something, and they're gonna do something. Backdoor it. Alex Anthopoulos, the Braves, that they are up to something. If they figure something out, which I think they will, Atlanta's the one team. Pittsburgh needs bats, but I don't know what they're doing. The Braves and the Giants are the two teams of the National League I'm waiting for. The American League, it's Detroit. Those are kind of the three: Tigers, Braves, Giants. Actually, four, because I'll include the Mariners. Mariners, Tigers, Braves, Giants. So those are the four I'm kind of waiting for to do something major. Outside of that, we'll wait to see on the Alonso market, the starting pitching market. Outside of Burns, gotta wait to see how some of that falls into place. But so we'll see what happens there. But everyone have a happy and healthy holiday season. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa. You want to check this out over the holidays, feel free. Find the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. YouTube, youtube.com, Sports Insanity Network. Like, comment, subscribe. Do what you got to do. Go to the website, www.thesportsinsanitynetwork.com, for great blogs, vlogs, planes, trains, and automobiles. Social media, Facebook, Sports Insanity Network, Twitter, S Insanity Real, personal Twitter, Punmaster Rifkin. Also on Blue Sky, the same handle. So you can follow me on there. If you want to chat about something, we can absolutely do that. This will probably be the last batter up of 2024, unless something major happens over the next 8 days. We will probably plan for one early in 2025. For the Sports Insanity Network, this has been the Batter Up Podcast, and I have been Mike Rifkin. Thank you, everyone who's watched, listened, and had some fun talking baseball. As always, we are sponsored by the Dugout of Millwood. The old ops guy is getting better. Who knows? Maybe he's on the first episode of 2025. Who knows? We got surprises in store. Also, check out our friend Rudy Campo, Sweep the League. They are going to be doing shows next week, for this week, over the holidays. Check them out. Great stuff there. And I'll talk to you all after the holidays. And remember, base